finally, the recording worked. Thank you, everyone, for joining. My name is Aruddha Devdas. Even though I just made his husband's name on Zoom. Thank you for joining our Vaishnava Academy monthly question answer series. We're continuing after last month. On popular demand, many of you requested to have this again. So Aruddha has kindly agreed to be here again to answer all of our questions. I think she needs absolutely no introduction within the world of ISKCON, what to speak of within the world of homeschooling devotees within ISKCON. And we're just very, very happy, Mataji, that you have taken our time again to answer our questions. People have actually been sending me questions, and I said, you know, ask when the call starts. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Radhika, for inviting me again. I'm so happy to be here again. I would love to share. I'm here to answer all your challenges that you may be facing in homeschooling, because I feel like challenges are very little compared to the benefits. So here we go. Please, Radhika, please proceed.
Okay. So, devotees, feel free to unmute yourself. You can raise your hand with using the Zoom tool, you know, raise hand, and then that way I know that you have a question, and then I'll call upon you. And when you ask a question, it would be awesome if you can have your video turned on, and of course, unmute yourself. So, Nityananda Prabhu from Brazil, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for your work at Vaishnava Academy, and Mataji Aruddha. Thank you for your book. I read your book. I don't know if you remember that we spoke a little through email some 2 years ago. Well, I live here nearby Nova Gokula. That is the biggest devotee communities in Latin America. And there are some 10, 15 kids from 0 to, I don't know, 14 years old. Most of them go to public school, but it's not a very good school, academically speaking, and of course, spiritually speaking. So I met your husband like 10 years ago in Chile, and he was talking about the great job you did with your kids. And I was like, well, if ever I have kids of my own, I will do this. I will at least try to do this. So I am preaching here, homeschooling to the devotees. But they don't feel they have the ability to do it. So they come to me to ask for some advice. I have some experience with teaching. And there's one devotee who brought me her son, a 10-year-old son, because he's having a little trouble with math. And the problem is that he really, literally hates school. I think he's confused because he hates learning too. He associates what is learning to school, so he doesn't like it. So I try to do some nice activities, games with him. But whenever he realizes that I'm trying to teach something, he won't do them anymore, even though he's having fun. So I don't know how to approach this problem, because he's already set, his mind is set in that he don't want to learn.
Yeah. Is he still going to public school?
Yes, but now with the pandemic issues, he's staying at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you know, if children, unfortunately, sometimes in public schools, they lose their motivation for learning. And so to create the motivation again, it takes a little time, you know. And so by keeping a nice Krishna conscious atmosphere, environment at home, and encouraging him in that way, then he will develop that mood of wanting to learn again, because the way the schools are set up, is just not set up for individualized attention and catering to every individual's needs and their progress and encouragement. They have some of it, but apparently you can't expect a teacher to do that with 20, 30 students, it's very, very impossible for them. So naturally, and sometimes if, due to peer pressure and, other things that may be present in school, bullying and all that, it becomes a detriment, more difficult for them to create a positive idea of, valuable learning. So the motivation naturally, suffers. So to build that again, it will take some time, but with a lot of encouragement and love and Krishna consciousness, one can definitely rebuild that. So the mother needs to be both. She needs to give discipline, but also she needs to, and father, and also needs to encourage both. So gradually he will develop that, and with good association of other devotees, this is one of the major benefits of homeschooling. The atmosphere is so nurturing if done right. It generally is done right. Most of the parents in homeschooling, they have a wonderful, successful experience. So because it's nurturing, and it's an atmosphere of Krishna consciousness where there is satisfaction. When we have Krishna in the center and we dedicate all our activities to him, then it becomes a satisfying experience for both the child and the parent. So yes, she should not, or he should not leave, become discouraged if they plan to homeschool even after the pandemic is over. That will, he will come around, with a lot of, patience. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, go ahead, Chitragopi Mataji.
Thank you for doing this session for us. I was just wondering how, in a school setting, a children is exposed to many different teachers, both male and females, and also different skills that each teacher is particularly expert in. And when you homeschool, you're kind of limiting that to just a mother or maybe a father teaching, so just one gender, and also one particular, like whatever skills that they're strong in, that will come through more. So how would you compensate for the lack in a homeschool setting?
Yes.
Yeah, that's my question.
Yes. There, even in a homeschool setting, one can have a lot of variety in terms of who's teaching. I mean, there's the father and mother. Then we can also take the help of other devotees, like some devotee. I remember when I was homeschooling, there was one, nice devotee who was starting out to becoming a devotee. She was very good in science, and that was her background, and she would come and teach children, some practical science. She would do some practical science experiments, and she was also good in art. So in this way, we can diversify a little bit, and maybe you can teach something to some other child, and this way there's a little reciprocation, where like a co-op type thing. But the parent, of course, takes the responsibility for the academic and side of the children. So in this way, I remember, there was a diversification because there was another teacher who was coming to teach Sanskrit, and so they had another different teacher. What I mainly did, my husband was quite busy with the preaching center as well as his job, but he would teach some math, and also what I was primarily teaching was in Srimad Bhagavatam, the English language arts, in different, through Srimad Bhagavatam and other books, and also math, a little bit of math. So, and of course they would practice music. We had 5 R's, by the way, reading, writing, arithmetic, rote, and raga. So rote is memorization and raga is music. So I would do those things, those 5 things, and that was nice. And then, but then for other areas, I would try to get help. You see. So yeah, homeschooling doesn't have to be boring. It can be very, very diversified, and you can get the help of other devotees, especially in areas like science and art, and even you can even have Srimad Bhagavatam, classes with a few other children, and other parents.
Yeah.
But a mother and father still remains the primary teacher. And this is not very unusual. It was quite common in, 50 years ago, when their Prabhupada talks about how there was one teacher with a few students, and that teacher was the primary teacher for the students. So this used to be, and even now in Oxford and Cambridge, it's the tutorial system where one teacher teaches a couple of students, and it's very, very effective, because she or he becomes the mentor for that child. But like I said, life in homeschooling doesn't have to be boring. In fact, for us, it was very, very interesting, very, very diversified, because we were doing so many things, even outside the home, for programs and things. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Paulina Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please
Hare
accept my humble obeisance. Thank you so much for all your work, and it's such an inspiration. All your books. I also emailed you a little bit back and forth about my son, the 6-year-old. There is one more, and there is one more. So my question is about Srimad Bhagavatam and using your books. So they are so helpful, so many activities. And at the same time, I know you have a class also on Zoom with just reading and discussion. And now also here, local devotees also doing the same thing. So we just read and discuss. So we don't implement the activities. When do you think is the best age probably to implement these activities? Or
from the Srimad Bhagavatam guidebook?
From the books, yeah, from the book you wrote.
Yeah, very soon. I mean, maybe by the time they turn 7, they are able to do some of those activities, and you can take those activities and adapt them to the age, to the level of your child. So a lot of those activities can be adapted for younger children and for older children. So you can make it easier for him. You can still use, I know one mother who's used those books for her children, for her daughter, when she was like 3 years old. 2 years old. And now she's using it when she's 3 years old. So second time round. But of course, with 2, it was mainly the artwork and, fun stuff, the projects. And now as she's getting older, she's able to do a little bit more. And so that was this book can be used. You just have to use your creativity and how you can do that. Not all activities for younger children, definitely, but some you can use, especially the ones that are, concerning, they are creative, the hands-on, the artwork and things, because they're learning philosophy through those art projects. Like, for example, in the first chapter, Questioned by the Sages, they make a boat in which, Shukadev, Sutta Goswami is the captain of the boat.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So that's fun. And they're learning a lot, because they're learning that how, Sutta Goswami, why he's the captain, the position of the spiritual master, and how and his qualifications, and then how the material ocean, how the ocean is like the material world, and you can make a real imaginative thing for them, where the scriptures becomes the breezes, And so like that, using that analogy, you can give wonderful instruction and bring them the philosophy. So use those activities for your youngest, for your 6-year-old. Yeah, definitely he can do more than the 3-year-old is using them. So you can use a lot more from those books. And then suppose there's a language activity or something, you can make the words simpler, for example. There's another activity, for, which is based on the Canto 1, Chapter 1, Verse 1, which is a very important verse, mind map activity, So you can do the same thing. You can draw a mind map on the paper and do it simpler, like at a level that he can understand. Okay, Krishna is in the middle, but then what are his qualities? Can you remember what qualities Krishna has? And can you think of something? And he's going to say, well, Krishna is very kind, or or Krishna is very beautiful, or something like that. And then you can relate it to a story in the Bhagavatam. When was Krishna kind? When was he sweet? Because children at that level, they need stories, So, when was he kind? When was he sweet? Can you think of a story when he was, he was kind, or he was looking very beautiful? So you take those same activities and you make them really simple at his level. And a 6-year-old can actually start using that book,
Okay, so just maybe alternate or just add it, like the simpler activities.
Yeah, just adjust it, just adapt it to his level, and bring it down to his level. And you have to always, and you remember that how much he's learning through those. He's learning all about Krishna, and then he's relating his qualities to his pastimes. So you're teaching him, how to, bring it together, and like that. So you're teaching him many skills through that. You're teaching him how to think in an abstract way. You're teaching him communication. You're teaching him English, vocabulary, you see? And what they learn through Bhagavatam is a lot easier and a lot more effective because it's interesting. It's about Krishna. He attracts the soul, you see? The same skills, if you were to teach from a mundane book, it doesn't have the same effect, you see? Because it's not spiritual. It's not transcendental. Krishna is not part of the picture. So it becomes boring. And then this is how children lose the motivation. When the subject matter is mundane versus when the subject matter is spiritual. You see? And Prabhupada has given this treasure house of knowledge, through his books. So we can easily change those things, teach those skills with a spiritual set of facts, which never ever changes. You get a book from a mundane book, those facts, it's just changing also. See, yeah, it'll be interesting for children, but only to a certain extent. They're eventually going to end up looking at it as hard work, as drudgery, rather than something, oh, this is so fun, Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hare Krishna. Thanks.
I'm going to call on my dear friend, Champaklata Sakhi Mataji next, who I can always bank on for having lots of interesting questions. Go ahead.
Thank you, Radhika Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji, Aruddha Mataji, Dharma Pranam, all goes to Srila Prabhupada, all goes to Gurudev. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your association, Mataji. And we are doing homeschooling with both. The little one is 3 and things are going on. It's quite a bit struggling, but it's going on. So Mataji, I have one question. I get to see a lot of kids. I'm not trying to compare, but I see a lot of kids where they learn a lot of shlokas, like Bhagavad Gita. Some kids recite whole Bhagavad Gita. I saw one video, 4-year-old is doing amazing thing and whole Bhagavad Gita and 108 important. So with Garima and like with Krishna, he doesn't even open his mouth. He likes to do aartis and different things, but no. So my point is, but he loves to read Bhagavatam. He sit down, he can sit for an hour and read Srimad Bhagavatam. So is it okay if they don't learn shlokas, important shlokas, and they just in the philosophy, or I should encourage them to learn shlokas, because one place I read Srila Prabhupada is saying, if they learn Bhagavad Gita shlokas, and even if they forget, it's still okay because it will go with them next life. But they are not into it, and I have to work very hard to make them sit and recite them.
Okay. Yeah.
So please advise.
Yeah, you don't need to push them, make it like a negative thing or drudgery. What you could do is just, as you're working in the kitchen, as you're going around the house, if you know a shloka already, if you already know a shloka, you can, recite that shloka, make it like fun for them rather than like work. It's not easy, but what you could do is just teach them one line at a time, like accomplish only, don't try to accomplish the whole shloka in one day. You can teach them one line, and then you have them recite in the evening in front of their father, you see. So like that, make them feel very special when they do memorize. So because younger children, they have a amazing capacity for learning shlokas, and for memorization. That's why rote is recommended early in their life, in the children's life, because what they memorize early in their life, they'll never ever forget. If you learn some nursery rhymes in school, you can recite them even if you're 50 or 60. You can't forget them. Why? Because they were given at the right time, you see. And it also sharpens the mind, memorization. We've lost that now in Kali Yuga. But so to a certain extent, you can do that, but don't make it enjoyable for them. Make it enjoyable for them. Find creative ways. And I know mothers and fathers, they use actions, physical, gestures to when they memorize that line, depending on what it means. So this way, they have good, fun with it. When you join it with their actions. Okay, so you can think of creative ways how to make it very interesting for them. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Mataji, I have one more important question. So Garima, like I mentioned last time, that she has joined officially Georgia Cyber Academy, which is by state. They provide teachers, and she has 3 live classes in a day, and then she has assignments. But my dilemma is, we tried for 1.5 months, almost little over a month. She's not at all happy. The teacher is a little rude and mean. She doesn't learn anything in live classes. So, but their curriculum is very good. Like what they're providing online, the everything is online. Nothing is physical book. I called them, I spoke to them. There's no physical book. The curriculum is self-explanatory and everything is nice, because she really does not pay attention on the live classes. But when I sit down with her, we open the laptop and she looks up the whole curriculum. She learns things. So I contacted them that what if she does not attend live classes? We don't want to. They said first 6 months, like until December is compulsory. After that, she can earn that flexibility. But my dilemma is, should I look into the new curriculum, whole new curriculum right now and buy, and like how we do physically book and reading, writing, do it that way? Or should I stick to this particular curriculum, because curriculum is by state and it is on laptop. So even though she has to do everything online, but I make her use her pencil, paper, write down everything, do math. Instead of doing on computer, I make her do everything on pen and paper and everything. So right now she'll be wasting her time with the teacher for maybe 2 more months. But after that, she can earn that flexibility. So I've been debating a lot that should I just get her off completely, or should I actually buy the proper new curriculum and read physical books and go through it?
Well, I'm not so much in favor of online learning, and so I favor more the books and the curriculum, getting the curriculum. However, you're saying that in 2 months everything will change, so like she can use books instead of doing live classes, so you can wait and get that flexibility. That's how I'm understanding you. So
she won't still get the books. It will be still laptop, but the curriculum will be on the laptop, and she has to submit her assignments, but no live classes.
Yeah. I mean, like right now for many parents it's very difficult to because they are going to school already, and it's just the pandemic situation which is making them go, go for online classes. And they plan to send it back, they plan to send their children back to public school. In that case, yeah. But if you're going to be a homeschooler, then I would recommend getting a curriculum and getting books, and teaching, because then you're going to continue to homeschool, you see. But if the child is going back to public school, then it won't matter so much. I mean, online schooling, is okay, because it's just a matter of a few months, right? So it's your choice, really. I mean, if you can do that and get a curriculum, and she can work with books and paper. Radhika, do you have any opinion on this?
Yes, Mataji was very, very helpful. Radhika Mataji, I texted her and she was so kind and she was so helpful. She sent me her whole curriculum, whatever she did
Oh,
with.
okay.
So I'm very grateful to her, and I'm actually looking into it, and we are planning to work on it.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it's much more nice. It's better in every way, because you become the teacher instead of that teacher, who's speaking to her, and that has a great effect on the child, because the children learn from the teacher. I mean, Prabhupada was very particular about teachers being devotees, because the children pick up. I mean, this is online, but still they pick up that mood and that psychology, like you said, she doesn't like her and things like that. So it becomes children learn by example. So when they learn from devotees, if that's possible in this situation, I'm thinking that everybody is planning to homeschool, then why not? Why not do that? And it's easy. It's easy to teach a child who's that young. It's not very challenging.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you so much. I appreciate your help.
Right. Mataji, nice to see you again, but you're still very enthusiastic, Vaishnav. Nothing's changed in a month. You look full of energy, and we're so happy to have you join us. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask Aruddha Mataji, she talks about preaching as part of homeschooling program. And I wanted to ask that I find it a bit difficult for me to go preaching or distributing books here in India, especially as I'm a foreigner. Our city is not very safe for somehow vulnerable people, like a foreigner mother with two small children. So I always feel somehow guilty that I'm not doing preaching, and I wanted to ask also, for them it's also important to be part of this preaching program that Srila Prabhupada wanted us to be part of. So I wanted to ask an advice, how could I do that?
Well, it's very challenging, especially if you have small children, to go on your own and try to do that. So what you could do is join up with with others who are doing it, So in this way, they're still exposed, they're still exposed. In other words, other devotee programs, I mean, right now it's the pandemic situation, but when it opens up, then when devotees go to other homes and do home programs or other programs, or they may go somewhere else. You're in India, you said? You're in India?
In Assam, Guwahati, Assam.
Okay, yes. Yeah, so when devotees when they go and do some programs, you can join in. And that way the children are still exposed and you are not the one doing it, because it becomes very challenging sometimes, right? And then, I think and especially with local devotees, who are devotees from Assam, it'll be a lot easier in terms of language and things like that. So, yeah.
This is also a problem. People here don't speak so much English, and they're mostly Assamese or Bengali.
Yeah, you can still be part of it. You can, like I said, take the help of other devotees and expose your children to all different activities. There's always preaching going on.
Home programs and Sankirtan sometimes.
Yeah. Sankirtan, home programs. Yeah, that's good. And sometimes they may be also having outreach programs, setting up tables and things. And you can set up, yeah. So you can set up, like if they have a table, then you can also set up something. And this way children are directly engaged in it. You know?
Thank you.
All right, Mohit Kohli, you can go ahead and ask your question next. Mataji, thank you for joining us. Hare Krishna. You're muted.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for organizing this. Hare Krishna, Aruddha Mataji, Dandat Pranams, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Mataji, my question is, I have a 5-year-old and a 4-year-old. I mean, a 6-year-old soon turning 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. So my daughter, who is 6-year-old, she is into a Gurukula, Massachusetts Gurukula. She's enrolled in that. And there they have a wonderful program. And earlier we were kind of not very sure how this will go, but as the time is passing, we are very we are getting used to it, and it was new, the online system. It is online basically, and they are teaching very wonderful things there. I mean, Krishna conscious and very nice, story form and everything. They are teaching a part of it is Bhagavatam as well. So Mataji, just my question is, if she's enrolled in that and she's also making some progress, how should I, as a family, me and my family, or we as a whole, how should we devote time to reading Bhagavatam and studying Bhagavatam as a family? Or should we just not put too much burden on her and teaching in this, or just leave it to the Gurukula, like what they are doing?
Well, reading together as a family has its own benefits, because it brings the family together in ways that is amazing, because they sit together and they discuss and they share with each other. They share their hearts with each other, because Bhagavatam actually opens up. It brings those feelings, and children and adults are able to share their innermost feelings and challenges, their how they see others, and how they see the society and the world. So the children, they pick up a lot through their parents. They pick up a lot. Ultimately, the children are looking up to their parents. The influence of the parents are the greatest on a child. So if you can do it, it'll be really nice. Even if it's a short time, I don't think it'll be a burden on the child, because it's fun time. It's not meant to be a burden, So I don't think there's anything, that you still cannot do at home, because you will be doing every day. Well, they do it every day over there also, right? Every day they're doing Bhagavatam. So you can see in terms of your situation, but I would recommend it. I would encourage you, to do it.
Okay. Yes, Mataji. Thank you very much. Thank you for your encouragement and constant guidance, Mataji. We look forward to your lectures, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Sundar Mataji, nice to have you with us again. Thank you for joining, and please ask away.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept our Mataji, I have a question. I have 2 kids, 7 years and 3 years, and I'm doing Srimad Bhagavatam with them together, because they like to do everything together. So I start with them together, but it takes time, because I make sure 3 years also understand what I'm telling. So sometimes I'm asking question. So let me see how much he's understanding. So both take. So 7 years he's dealing with us, because I told, look, you want with him Bhagavatam, so you have to be a bit adjust. So sometimes he used to sit and I'm explaining with the big small one also. So my question is, Mataji, in what age you start 3 hours Srimad Bhagavatam with your 2 kids?
Well, they were older. This age is very young, so you cannot do so long. And we were not doing 3 hours every day, there were some days where we made it shorter because there were other things to do, to maybe we had to go somewhere, or it was a day when the children didn't want to sit that long. But we were never doing it at a stretch, you know, like we would take breaks, they would have a snack, we'd come together. And also we were, you know, doing some, you know, not just discussion the whole time, we would diversify it, you know, they would have some writing work also. So, you know,
So Mata, in Srimad Bhagavatam, like you tell one sloka, then like explain, right? You explain it, right? Not like keep reading.
no, we, like I said, we would still keep taking turns reading. Otherwise, children get distracted if they're not reading. So we still would read and discuss. Yeah, just translations, no purports. Once in a while, we did read purports when the questions, we could not answer the questions. But I was reading, I had some idea what Prabhupada was talking about.
So you don't read purport, Mata, you just read translations?
Yeah. And then the parent reads the purport and brings those points to the children.
So translation children read, purport parents read, something like this?
Ahead of time, not with them, not while they are there. But you read ahead of time, earlier. You read earlier.
In front of them, you don't read, you just explain what is in purport?
Yeah, but not in every purport. You just bring the main points and whatever you think is good for them, that they can, at their level, what they can discuss, you know? So you bring those points, but you don't discuss every point in every purport. Because Bhagavatam has to be taught in layers. I mean, small children, they cannot, you know, go discuss, you can't discuss everything with them, right? So depends on their level, you just uncover one layer at a time. And you bring those simple challenges and those simple critical thinking questions as you feel fit, you know, not for every purport though. And they have to continue to have their interest in reading only when it's moving along. We are not stuck in one place. You know, once in a while it may happen. There's a very good discussion going on, but mostly we cover quite a few verses in one class because that diversifies some topics, and children don't have the capacity to just talk about one topic. You know, they like to move along. Yeah.
Okay, Mata. And Mata, is it okay? When I do with them Bhagavatam, purport I read quickly, and then I try to explain him with story, different story I include, and different thing which is make them interest, and that way they go through. Is okay?
Yeah, what you're doing is also okay, because if you want to do it this way, it's absolutely okay, as long as we make it fun for them. You know, if you want to continue reading one purport and then expand it in many different wonderful ways, in creative ways, you know, by bringing stories and things like that, it's wonderful. It's absolutely okay. Yes.
Another question, Mata, is like sometimes like somebody asks, why you doing that? Why it's too much work? Why you doing that? It's like a challenge, you know, like they're telling, well, your understanding is that if a child go to the school, they don't become devotee. That is your understanding. They like some devotee there. So yes, I saw that children, those who are going to school, they also nice devotee. People don't make sound, please. They nice midanga, nice kirtan. They also doing. You know, when I see the Sunday feast, some children are really nice doing.
Yeah, like Prakshit, he goes to school, but he's my best friend. I like him, and he all time is a good devotee.
So but my kids like homeschool, and I also like. And thing is that this is Mataji. What is a good answer to give them? Because I tell that, well, this is I want to do my mother duty nicely. The later I don't lament I didn't do it. So I want to do my mother duty, and kids also cooperate. But what is a good answer to give that, you know, how homeschool is like a nectar. You cannot compare with online school or outside school. That is like I see my kids, why are he coming? What is his mind going on? But with homeschool, I can understand actually where he is, where to pull, where to do what. So what is the answer to give them so that they understand something? Homeschool really is effective, Mata.
Well, there's so many homeschoolers in America. You know, there's over 2 million children who are being homeschooled in America, and the results are wonderful. So you can tell them that actually homeschooling is a very established, alternative way of teaching in America. You're living in America, and it's not a problem over here to homeschool. So definitely the results speak for themselves. But also we don't want to, we don't want to point fingers at others who are not homeschooling.
Yeah, I'm not there, but they are asking me, well, why you are so much concerned about that, so much concerned about it. So that's
yeah, because they're also doing their good job, the best, what they feel best for every parent feels, does what they feel is best for their children. Okay? And that's absolutely okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Udayan Khan Prabhu has another question.
Yes, thank you. Is there any positive role of TV on homeschooling?
Prabhu, can you repeat that question again?
Yes. Is there any positive thing about TV in homeschooling?
Well, I would not recommend having it at all. So because I, in my seminars, I speak, point out many things that are, detrimental when we expose our children to television and unlimited television and unlimited internet, So television is not necessary. Internet, it's become such a necessity now because, there's so many things one has to, do through the internet, especially if children are going to school. So much of homework is through the internet. But if you're homeschooling, then you can limit that, use of internet. And television is, why even, the medium is very harmful,
Yeah.
It's very harmful. It's very addictive.
Yeah.
And very.
Yeah, sorry. I have a TV, but I download things for my kid and I put them on a pen drive, and he watches just what I want him to watch. But as I told you, these other kids that they come here to learn math or anything, I asked their mother, and she told me that they watch TV freely. And I told her that it's difficult to compete with that. I am, as you said, that you like more books than electronic things. I also like more books, but it's difficult to compete between a book and TV if the child is already used to.
Addicted. Yeah. They don't become intelligent by watching television, even though it may be an educational show. Even then they don't become intelligent because of the medium, because it's a one-way download from the tube to the brain of the child. There's no interactive interaction which happens when you're reading a book with a child. Even if he's reading on his own a book, So the method of learning is not conducive for developing intelligence or creativity. Even academically, there's no such proof or statistics which shows that children who are learning through the medium of the screen are more intelligent. In fact, it's just the other way around.
Yeah, they don't make mistakes, so they can learn. Well, it's important. Thank you, Mataji.
Yes.
Mataji, you're next.
You said my name, right, Mataji? Sorry, I didn't hear.
Yes.
Sorry, Mataji, I didn't hear. Is it me in next in turn? Okay, thank you, Mataji. I have a question. Mataji, I have a question that right now, sometimes things are wired. Wired in the sense Krishna wants to read Bhagavatam continuous. Garima is screaming that I want to read. Then she brings Prabhupada Lilamrita. He brings Prabhupada Lilamrita. Then she brings Bhagavad Gita. Like they want to read so many scriptures at one time, and then studies sometime are like, okay, push behind. Okay, we'll do it tomorrow. And then they both are screaming and crying. And sometimes I wonder, how do I balance more than one scripture, because I am doing Bhagavatam, because I took only one scripture, like you mentioned, Bhagavatam. But lately it's happening that they're bringing so many books together, like she wants to read Ocean of Mercy. But then when I tell her, okay, you read Krishna book or Ocean of Mercy or anything, then she says, I cannot understand. You have to sit with me. And I can sit so much with them. Like there's cooking, there's cleaning, there's so much things need to be done. And I always focus on, like, I remember one time you mentioned that when you used to, like, when you're both the sons, at bedtime you used to tell them Prabhupada Leelamrita. And I tried, but I can't even keep up. I can only keep up with Bhagavatam, but when they both brings more books and more things and more, then I get very guilty that I'm not able to sit down and do more scriptures with her. Like right now, I'm attending one classes to understand Bhagavad Gita because I never understood properly. So Garima sit down, and then we took a break from Bhagavatam, but she's actually understanding Bhagavad Gita now. So also I had this second question, that what is the right age to do Bhagavad Gita for them?
Well, as long as you make it creative and interesting, you can do Bhagavad Gita even at this point, you see. It all depends on how creative you make it and how much fun you make it for children. I would make a schedule where you're doing Gita certain, some days, because if they want to do Gita, then why not? You can do like once or twice a week Gita, and then you can do Bhagavatam, like, why don't you diversify? In this way, you make a schedule and you pin that timetable, put that on the fridge, and you tell them, oh, today is the day for Bhagavad Gita. So let's get a Bhagavad Gita out. Today is the day for Bhagavatam, or today is the day for Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yeah, it's okay, because children do need variety. It's not like they can, they become curious, and then and in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's such nice stories as well, of Lord Chaitanya and Madhya Lila, so definitely, why don't you make a schedule and just put it up there, and this way they're peaceful, and then you just, if you have only that much time, that 1 hour with them, well, that's pretty good, because the rest of the day they are also being engaged in devotional services, in practical devotional services where they doing different things, some practical deity worship or cooking with you or whatever, or playing Krishna conscious games. So their mind is connected with Krishna. You see, so all that is also important, because children are not going to sit with books all day, okay?
And along with that, I had a question, like sometime if I have to sacrifice a little bit Bhagavatam time or any scripture time, and if some, like Garima learned Vritasura prayers, 2 shlokas. But then when I do the prayers with them, I have to sacrifice a lot of reading and philosophy and everything time. So is it okay to focus on prayers also at the same time, few prayers if she learns, or our main focus should be philosophy and stories and reading?
Well, you can do half and half. You can do shlokas half the time, but she's learning philosophy through the shlokas. It's not like she's not learning philosophy through the shlokas, because you're telling her what it means, right? So and so you can connect it with philosophy. It's okay, as long as she's hearing about Krishna and his devotees. You can give it in any form you like, because she's still young, so it's okay. Or you can make it like divided, half the time for shlokas some days, and half the time for hearing Bhagavatam or any other scripture.
Okay, Mataji, thank you so much.
So that seems to be, I'm sorry, there's a question from Kalendi Sundari Mataji. Again, would you like to go ahead and ask yours?
Hare Krishna. Mataji, again, what we do, right, reading Bhagavatam daytime, and then big one have curriculum, and a small one also do something kindergarten, and then nighttime when they go sleep, that time I give them the story, different, like Ocean of Mercy or any so many books of story. So now what's going on in Bhagavatam and also Ocean of Mercy, like Maharaj telling when he gets sannyas, what Prabhupada told him. And all the time this word coming, sex, 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 how to just controlling the sex is so important for the sannyasi, like woman attraction is the most important, means the biggest obstacle in this material world. So big one is looking to me. I just tell, it's like boy and girl thing is too much going on in this world. This is what I tell, and I just go further. So what I do when this kind of word come, he looking to me or this, I just ignore him and keep reading, or what I do on that condition.
I mean, when you're reading Shastra, it doesn't come that much. I mean, it'll come once in a while. And so
in Bhagavatam, yeah, I'm reading in the first canto, like something now in the 4th chapter. Somewhere, yeah, Narad Muni also talking about that, Vyasadeva. And I'm reading Ocean of Mercy, Maharaj also talking, Prabhupada telling, yeah, it's not like so much, but it's coming often. And I saw my son is want to know what's this,
Yeah, I mean, the way you can explain is that, this is the relationship between man and woman who are not married, In other words, when people have to stay away from this attraction is because they're not married, So that's what makes it bad. That's what makes it bad. And so you can explain how in society, there are people who, who associate with each other, boy associate with girl before they get married, So, and they may, so in that way it becomes wrong, because they can relate with that, because you're married and you're living nicely at home and you have a nice family life. So they understand, okay, this is okay. But there are people who will not do that, and they will associate very intimately with others, So that becomes, one has to keep away from that kind of relationship.
Yeah, that's right.
And of course, a sannyasi obviously he has nothing, he's given up. That can be easily explained, right? A sannyasi is given up family life. Now he's simply dedicated. He's done family life, or he may not have ever done, but mostly they've done it. And now they're ready, for giving their life to Krishna, And the story, and as they get older, they'll understand, because story after story in Bhagavatam is talking about that, right?
So yeah, that's what I tell them. The way you talk, the somehow to take it positive way talk. And Mataji, another thing is that I don't know. It is okay. I like sometimes I worry that am I Bhagavatam before I'm thinking, and I mean too early. I'm thinking, but sometimes because they're going curriculum, they're doing quick. So I'm thinking before they go out, am I can finish Bhagavatam? That is in my head. And another thing, as a mother, definitely I want they finish. Srimad Bhagavatam and of course Chaitanya Charitamrita before they go step out. And also as a mother, I want that they also do good in curriculum. So that is okay, Mata, this kind of desire. If some people think, oh, some it's like not a material desire. If I want that they do good in study also.
Oh yes, why not? It's important because you also are trying to equip them to have a happy life, materially speaking, because the body is necessary. Maintenance of the body and certain amount of comfort helps in accepting Krishna consciousness. So there's no guilt in that. The main thing is connecting everything to Krishna. Yukta Vairagya, that's the most important thing to teach a child. How whatever desires we have, or can be dovetailed to pleasing Krishna. That's what we need to give them a healthy way of understanding about material life, and not a fanatical way where, this is all Maya, or, Maya is there. The truth has to be given, but then we have to explain what Maya is. When we separate things from Krishna, then it becomes Maya. You see, when we join things with Krishna, then that becomes Krishna conscious, that becomes spiritual. So no, there's nothing wrong in wanting them to do well academically,
And Mother, and the thing about the like prasad distributions, we do books, and we also like neighbors, like my own neighbors, mostly like Americans, so they like Indian food, and that way we can give them prasad. And my they are so much to give, you know, like want to talk with people, this kind of mood my chick is. But now I'm thinking that should I start with a college student, and like before that we used to stay close to our campus, our temple, but it's a big OSU, Ohio State University, and also the home is some homeless people also there. So because before that I used to stay there, so we go there and distributing, we see. So I told the less because there's so much want to share with other, and because they're not going out for social thing, we're going for books. But now it's because for virus little bit, but we usually call, and now we're calling, but I'm start as soon as virus finish, I'm thinking we start once in a month prasad distribution to the student and homeless people. So this is a good time matter. I'm thinking too early because I have 3 and 7, but they were so much giving mood, they want to give, but all going to come to me. I person have to cook, pack, everything you have to do. So what do you think? It's too early to think, or I have to wait little bit, mother?
Well, if you can manage it, it's up to you what your challenges are, but it's always nice. The children, their faith becomes stronger when they see, giving when they see devotees giving to prasadam, distributing and giving Krishna consciousness to others in other ways as well, then the children, their own faith increases, they learn compassion. How these are people who are eating meat and things like that, but they're not meant to be, rejected. In fact, they are meant to be given compassion in the form of prasadam, in the form of Krishna's mercy. You see, it's a great experience for them. If you can manage, great. So you can see, you can see how it works for you.
And yeah, so lots to do, and they really like it. But I'm the person who have to do, so make them excited, happy, everything.
Make it simple. Yeah, maybe you can cook just one item rather than several items. Just maybe one snack item, maybe. And pakoras are so easy to make. So have a big wok and just fry a lot of pakoras, So, and pakoras are universally really loved, So you can you can make a whole bucket of pre-mixed batter every time, ahead of time. So anytime you're trying to give prasadam, I used to do that a lot. I would have a whole bucket of premix batter, dry, of course. And then you just quickly add water and you fry and it's ready.
Oh,
okay. So you can do these tricks where you just make one item, just give them a snack, or something like that. Or if we used to do programs sometimes in schools, and there were 600 students, so we would have to think of something really practical, One time we were really hard pressed for time and things that we did like 600 pieces of papadums. We just fried them, see? So, or sweets, some quick sweets, and things like that. So you have to be very creative,
Okay. And the thing, like my neighbor children sometimes come and they are like, as I told, means like American and not like from devotee family, but they're small age than my big ones, 7 years. But as a children, they come a little worried how they behave, but they play, and I try to give them prasadam, everything, but later is the kind of, they either look, you come here, no problem, but you have to follow some rules, some rules you have to follow. But sometimes they want, sometimes they don't want. So it's okay, mother. Sometimes I'm not so much in, because they're coming from another thing. Their understanding is different. But I try to give them Krishna consciousness, and also my children also looking how I'm behaving with social thing. No. So what do you think? The mixing with other kids which are not devotees, so it will be affected, or
no, that's okay. They can come. It's a great way to invite other children who are not devotees, because they're coming into your own home, and it's a Krishna conscious home. So they're being exposed to that, and the children also feel, and they can extend their friendship to them. So children, that's okay. You have to be careful if you are sending them to their homes. Yeah. So this is really good. And then you can of course control certain things, like, and obviously if they want to watch video games, then you're going to say no to that, right? If they're going to watch television, so you can have some rules, that this is how it's going to be done. But because everything else is allowed, they can jump and play and eat, and have fun, children will comply. They will say they will be okay with it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, perhaps Shyama Rupini Mataji, would you?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hi.
Well, all good, Guru Maharaj. So Mataji, I had a question regarding, Kalini Sundari Mataji was asking regarding the sex and everything. So
Yes.
I faced a very awkward situation where, we don't see any videos or anything like that. But the incident happened where my son, kissed a girl on a cheek. I mean, I don't know. I did not know what to tell, and I did not know how it happened. And then after that, now whenever my daughter, she likes to read fairy tale books. So when you read those books, and even when they do it online in the epic, they have to read. So there are, scenes where, like the prince is kissing the princess on the cheeks, and then she gets up and all those things. Now my son is like, he's covering his eyes, he's covering his mouth, and he's saying, I don't want to hear, I don't want to listen, I don't want to see. So it's like a bit awkward situation, and I feel he's too small. So I'm like, I don't know what really should I tell him to make him understand. I'm in a very, I don't know. So this is a little bit tricky situation for me. Mataji, if you can help me, please.
Yeah, of course. I don't know where, you have to see where he's getting exposed to all this, like if they're watching cartoons or, certain online karmi stuff where they're getting the wrong picture, and therefore he's feeling like that. So, but if it's given in a proper way, like Krishna conscious shows, and so children generally develop a healthy attitude, a healthy understanding of all these subject matters, because if it's given through the Shastra. So maybe you can see where that exposure is coming from, You
Okay.
can check. Is he being exposed to many karmi things, or you can check and see, because you have to watch these online things. You cannot leave such a young little child in front of that, in front of a laptop, without supervising.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So you should be there when he's watching something, or at least have an eye on him.
Okay, Mataji. Okay, thank you.
Because in Bhagavatam, through the Shastra, and especially if children are very young, they may innocently kiss a girl. I mean, they are not aware why they're kissing, So that's okay, You'll see a little 3-year-old will go and kiss a little boy, suppose, But they're not aware. It's okay. But if he's doing other things, like, you can see the signs where he's behaving in a way that is not appropriate, then you have to watch and see where he's getting that exposure from and stop that.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, why not give him a Krishna conscious exposure for these things? Yeah, watching karmic cartoons and karmic shows is not good for the children, because now it's full of sex and violence. That's all it is. And their exposure to these things through that medium is going to be detrimental for them, guaranteed. They're going to get that at some point, but then having received a good foundation in Bhagavatam, and the way to see it from the eyes of Shastra, how these things are meant for the pleasure of Krishna and not for the purpose of sense gratification. If they get that idea from Bhagavatam before they're exposed, at some point they will be exposed. I mean, you can't stop them, right? There's so much, going on in the world. Of course, if they're going to school, they're going to be exposed quite a bit. But even if you're homeschooling, there's some exposure, right? But it's very controlled. It's very controlled, So once they get that good understanding from Shastra, on these subjects, then then they're not going to get that, that idea, that vision of sex and violence in a way that is detrimental for them, you see. So that's what you're trying to prevent at this age. With, they need to be exposed. Children have a tendency to imitate, so if you put things in front of them that is bad for them, they will express it in their life. They'll express it in your day-to-day life. But if you give them things that are healthy for them, that are good for them, obviously they're going to imitate those things. So the examples and the exposure has to be very, very Krishna conscious. People have this idea that if we don't do that, we are actually isolating them. No. This is the nature of material world. They're going to get that anyway. But why, why give them now?
Yes.
That's why Prabhupada recommended Gurukula for the first 12 years of a child's life, because he wanted the children to be well ingrained in good character. And with those 12 years in developing in good, understanding of Shastra as well as in practical devotional service, then a child can, understand what's what. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I have 3 questions related to the little one, because the most wired is the little one. So our first question, he's very bad at eating. So only eating time, I let him watch the little Krishna. I limit all the cartoons. Once in a while, they watch Minnie Mouse or something, very rarely. But mostly he's watching little Krishna. The side effect is, whole day he talks about, you will be dead, I will kill you. And they said that. And the thing is, when we were in India, there was so much time, sometime like I followed you and don't get me wrong, please forgive me. But sometimes we used to play the drama, and his favorite is Narsingh Dev. So we would enact like Narsingh Dev, Hiranyakashipu and everything. And I wanted to do more dramas, but couldn't do it. But here, throughout the day, he roars like Narsingh Dev and he says, you lie down, you are Hiranyakashipu and I'm going to rip your tummy. So he's already wired. On top of it, then I try to change his mood and I try to read Gajendra stories and different pastimes, so that he don't get the idea that Krishna is only killing demons, but he's helping devotees and everything. But my question is how to get him out of that mood, because throughout the day.
So if he's becoming like very violent because he's watching little Krishna, then I would gradually try to reduce that exposure, because when you get these stories from the screen, it has a different effect on the children. But when you read a book, Srimad Bhagavatam or Krishna book, or even children's Krishna book where they have nice stories, there's a different result from that. So because children, when they hear and they, Krishna killing, it has, they see and they enact that pastime, it's okay, because violence is being presented in a way which is very, is not destructive. Krishna is killing them because they are bad. These are bad people, and naturally the bad people, just like the police, they will have to go and take care of the bad people. Krishna takes care of the bad people as well, of course. And then, so Krishna's pastimes with the demons are not going to be detrimental for the child, even though he wants to reenact them, okay? But if given from the screen, it has a different effect. And so what you could do is gradually wean him out from watching little Krishna. And I've heard mothers trying that, and the way it becomes successful is that when you sit, it takes a lot of exertion, but on the part of the mother. But if you tell them a story, you verbally tell them a story, they get so immersed. I've seen children being weaned off in this way. And they become so immersed in hearing that story that they actually can lose that addiction for little Krishna, So you can try that. Because reading these stories about the Lord killing demons is not going to be detrimental for the children. it's fun for them to pretend to be Nrsimhadev and to want to do that, because they get it from the right perspective. They understand why is Krishna killing them, because he's destroying his friends, and therefore he needs he needs justice, right? And also, when it's done, it's finished. It's not like it goes on and on. Then Krishna goes and then he plays with his friends and he has fun. Okay.
Okay, Mataji. And I have another question. Mataji, can I request you some tips to discipline him? Because discipline is a very big issue for him. Yeah. He doesn't follow instructions. And as soon as I start Bhagavatam, first he would tell me all the stories. He wouldn't let me speak. Everything he wants to do, what he wants to do. Then I wait for him and then I start. But throughout the day, he is very bad at following instructions. Only thing, morning program, he's much settled. We have started officially morning program with him and he's very happy and he does it, but he's very bad at following instructions. So how can I get him to listen to me and be more disciplined?
Yeah. Well, the 3-year-olds is very hard with them for 3-year-olds because they are at that age when they want to challenge everything. So, and they also want to speak a lot. I mean, so all that is okay. I think you just have to try to do your best in terms of, but this phase does pass. It does pass, So, and some discipline is good, but, some discipline is good where they know, they're intelligent and they know that if they do this, they will be upset. So you can exercise some discipline, but at the same time, be very patient because this phase goes away. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mataji, I have one more question. They have a lot of DT dolls. Throughout the day, they play with the DT dolls, Jagannath Baldev, Krishna Balram and everything. And they use their original toys and include them and play with them. I tell them quite a bit times not to mishandle with them, but sometimes they throw them from height and they say, oh, they are jumping, they are killing Dhenukasura, or they are doing this or they are doing that. And I get concerned that they are mishandling the DT dolls. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're doing puppet shows, sometimes they're doing different things, but I have seen them so many times mishandling the DTs. But then when I ask them, they have a different story in their mind. So how okay it is to mishandle because they are representing the DTs?
Yeah, I mean, you can wait for a year. You can keep them away. Maybe by the time he gets to be 4, he'll be fine. So, you can, because it's a difficult age. It's really hard for them. So I would keep them away for a year, maybe, or half a year, maybe 6 months, and try again afterwards, And you can give them regular dolls and say, well, they can pretend that this is Krishna or something, You can maybe put some paint tilak on them or something, or do something like that, where they can, and they can outgrow this phase.
Okay, thank you so much, Mataji, for your association and for answering all my questions. Please forgive me if I'm asking too many questions or.
No, this is great. No.
I'm just trying my best to follow you. And
raising children is not easy. It's not. It's very, very challenging. It's
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You are my very big inspiration, and I'm just I'm like anybody ask me anything, and then my husband also like Aruddha Mataji says that just follow. Okay, simple. So it's like okay, fine. So thank you so much for all the help because especially morning program. Honestly, I was debating a lot. I was not mentally ready for morning program, and I'm like. Do I chant? Do I do morning program, or do I wake up Garima and make her also chant? And it's too much. But last time Radhika Mataji arranged your question answers, and it was so nice because you emphasized so much on morning program, and we see so much difference because when we came from India, Krishna was completely down. We could not understand his identity. But we've been doing past 3 weeks, or since the day you mentioned next morning we started morning program. And he's so better now. Like he sings, he plays mridanga, Yesterday he was saying whole Prabhupada Pranami mantra by himself. He's singing Narsing Devarti. So a big change has been brought because of your help and instructions. Thank you so much.
It's Prabhupada's process, you know. He showed that by example. He gave instructions for the Gurukulis, you know, children, where they started the day with the morning program. He says children, you know, can do anything. They can run, they can play, they can eat many times. The only austerity for children is to do a morning program in the morning. Of course, for most householders, 4:30 is very early. They're not able to manage, but at least later on, you know, they can do that. Starting the day with the morning program is very beneficial in curbing misbehavior throughout the day. Because somehow if a child becomes absorbed in chanting Krishna's names, he just becomes more peaceful. Of course, he's still going to be naughty, but that naughtiness is not going to be too difficult to control, you know. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mataji. I just wanted to share that because of morning program, he started chanting also. He's 3, but now he has started. He chants 16 beats, and then he says, "Mama, I'm done with 16 rounds." So he chants with.
That's your inspiration. You're very.
Thank you so much.
All right, Anuradha Sakhi Mataji, so nice to see you again. Welcome back and ask away.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I actually had before I ask the question, two points of gratitude for you that, remember last session I had asked you about chanting for my 6-year-old. I don't know, your divine blessings and mercy. Somehow she's sort of we've started up again. So I'm grateful for your advice for, you know, just letting her be, but just sort of encouraging her. And as one of the Matajis asked about the Little Krishna videos, I remember a couple of years ago you came to Toronto and we were facing the same thing around Little Krishna videos. Somebody asking my little one who's sick, who was 2 that time. She's 6 now. She was addicted to Little Krishna for eating purposes. And after hearing you and Radhika Raman Prabhu, we cold turkey just killed the Little Krishna videos, like just stopped them. It was hard, but that started her love for listening to audiobooks, audio stories of Krishna. And to the point now where now she just right now I put on a pastime stories of pastimes by Radhanath Maharaj, like Gaur Leela, and she's able to listen. So I just wanted to say thank you for that advice. It was very hard at that time to stop that cold turkey, but somehow now it has given some taste for listening. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for executing that.
And a question I wanted to ask for her, the fiery 6-year-old, was that whilst she loves stories and pastimes and all of that, we were trying to now sort of introduce some shloka memorization from Bhagavad Gita. And there's pastime stories, that's awesome, she listens and stuff, but when it's trying to memorize and stuff, it's like there's a lot of resistance, like this is too hard, I can't do it. So how important is it at this stage, and how do I and we try and always give her that growth mindset sort of examples that remember you couldn't do this, but now you're able to. You have the practice aspect is very hard for her. So how do we introduce a sort of a natural love of learning, rather than you have to let's memorize some shlokas because you have to, and it's good for your brain, and Sanskrit is good for your those are our reasonings behind, but I don't want to have an aversion to that kind of feeling.
Yeah, so you can wait. How old is she?
She's 6 now.
Oh yeah, 6. Yes. Yes, it's okay to give it a little gap rather than keep pushing. And then if you give it a little gap, like maybe a month or 2 months, then she want to approach it with a fresh mind again. And then you could maybe join up with some other devotees and see how you can take the struggle with them and see if you can, they can try it with their own children and make it like a team, like a team, so that she doesn't feel like she's doing something which is not fun or is troublesome, if you approach it that way, she's not going to do it. And it's going to be a big challenge. I would not push her into it. A little encouragement, a little push is okay. But if she's constantly saying no, then I wouldn't push too hard. And so give it a little gap and then see if you can make a team of other parents, a few other parents, and they do it together.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can do it together with them. Radhika, do you have any ideas how to approach that?
No, Mataji, but that was wonderful. Nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you, Mataji. And in general, in terms of creating a love for learning, I find that it's really the practice aspect of any, not just shlokas or any sort of, thing. I think she wants to be naturally good at it, like that it'll just sort of, magic and she'll know it kind of a thing. So how do we do, build that aspect?
Yeah, see, for example, if you're teaching her how to read, now that's not is something they're gonna like too much all the time, because it requires some work on their part, right? And children tend to resist that. They will resist that, right? So a little push is necessary, because reading is important. You have to teach them, you see. So you can, so in this way, so if you get Urmila Mataji's Learn to Read books, some Krishna conscious reading books where they can see pictures and they can really have a love for learning, or some book which has, which is interesting and has pictures in it. So this way, when they're reading, they're also hearing the story. You see, so it doesn't become a chore where, it's just reading time and I hate reading. No, it's not like that. They're reading, but at the same time, they are connecting it with the story. You see? And as they get older, then reading becomes more and more interesting because you can introduce other books for reading purposes, you see, and make it a variety. You have to cultivate a love for whatever they're doing, but at the same time, there are certain things you just have to push because you have to get the reading in. This is the time when they have to learn how to read, right? So, but you don't want to push too hard, and because you want to give a gap. Like if you're teaching her how to read, then you can do it several times a day instead of one time, So, or you can do one time and be done with it, and she knows I have to spend half hour doing this, So you have to see what, a child will respond differently according to her nature, and and her restlessness. So, yeah, try to think of ways you can make it creative, but at the same time, some push is needed,
Yes, much. It's a balancing act all the time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Just like Prabhupada said, the child doesn't want to go to school, but the parent knows, well, he has to go to school. Just like in homeschooling, you have to teach the child how to read. So, but the child doesn't want to read, right? But you still have to do it, because that's important. And but you use your creativity also to make it lighter, where where they have some incentive to want to do it by introducing Krishna consciousness in it, some nice story with it,
Yes.
or giving some incentive. Like if you read this book, then maybe some incentive is okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, at this age, it's okay.
Okay, because I constantly feel like I'm either threatening or bribing.
Yeah, you don't want to overdo too much of that. Just a little balance of everything.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Anuradha Sakimataji, we had a question here asking, where do you get these audiobooks that you just mentioned?
I had downloaded. There's from ISKCON Desire Tree had a audio Krishna app, like a book of the Krishna book, an audio app, like a app from the App Store that you can download. So we used to play that, and then there is Vrinda Kishori had her Srimad Bhagavatam on YouTube. Like it was a series of those 7 audio, video. I think those were audio. That was on SoundCloud, but now she has them on YouTube as audio file. I mean, sort of, there's no video, but it's like the audio plays. So that's a series of 7 chapters, of the first 7 chapters of Bhagavatam. Then I can't remember because it's been a while now. She's moved on to sort of story pastimes of even like now Radharat Maharaj has his like Gaura Leela pastimes that she's 6 and she's able to sort of follow along. And there was another devotee, I think from Aruddha Mataji's group. I can't remember. She was in Shri Yashoda. She had on SoundCloud, she has another account which had some rhymes and songs. So yeah, those were the things that were constantly sort of playing in our house. Like I think I could sing them in the middle of my sleep at that point a couple of years ago.
And also Amala Bhatta Maharaj has amazing audio. My children really enjoy those, and he's got Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, the whole thing recorded dramatically. He's got Ramayan recorded dramatically, Chetan Chetan. Thank you for sharing. See, this is the great thing. You bring your experience and your resources to the forum. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have another question from Achintya Priya Mataji.
Mataji, I want to ask about association of my children with my parents, which are really wonderful parents. But whenever they come or we go there, their spiritual consciousness, spiritual activities, they somehow go down because the games they play with them, or my mother, she reads every day stories to them online on Skype, and some books which are materialistic and without any spiritual value, at least a moral value also. And I don't know, I feel guilty towards my parents. I don't want to think like this, and also I feel guilty for my children because it's my duty to give them always some Krishna consciousness. So how to deal with that?
Well, that's okay. They need to build that connection with their grandparents as well. So a little bit of exposure to stories which are not Krishna conscious, it's not going to be that harmful for them, as long as the motivation their motivation is innocent. In other words, if they are not against Krishna consciousness and they're simply trying to associate with their grandchildren and feel that happiness of that relationship, then it's okay. So what happens is, if they're inimical to Krishna consciousness, so in very subtle ways, they will be passing that along to the children. And that could be detrimental for them. But so you can see, but the connection between children and their grandparents is very, very important also, and that's okay if they are, reading stories to them which are not Krishna conscious, but they are, mundane. I mean, like, how long do they read? About half hour, and that too on Skype, right? Yeah. So yeah, it's okay. So yeah. So you can see and take that. And if you're always if you feel that they're very antagonistic or something, then they may be conveying that or something, then that becomes a little bit of a problem. But otherwise, I think it's okay. Yeah.
All right. Mataji,
I have one last question. Garima likes to sing kirtans. So like almost 2 years back, we started making her like recite proper, like everything, like Brahma Samhita by heart, Narsingh Dev Kavach by heart and everything. She learns, but revision is the hardest part. Because when she don't revise for some time, she forgets. And then she is very disappointed. Then she don't want to learn another one because she forget. But whenever I give her revision is the hardest. So I have 2 questions. Number 1, how to like encourage them for revision? And number 2, is it even okay? Because see, because every Vaishnava bhajan I teach her, whether it's now like Chaurashtakam is coming in Purushottam month. So I want her to learn so that she sing, because her main love in Krishna consciousness is singing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and every Ashtakam takes me time, like one every day. So is it even, should I even invest my time and energy to make her by heart all these Vaishnava bhajans, at least few important ones? Or should I just focus more on, suppose I have 2 hours in a day and half an hour goes in one Ashtakam, or 1.5 hour for different things. So should I even invest my time in that, or should I just, she can just sing through reading the paper and let her focus on more on other philosophy or reading books or other things? How necessary and important it is to learn these Vaishnava bhajans also at the same time?
Yeah. I mean, if you're singing them quite frequently, she's going to pick up anyway. It's hard for children to sit down separately and learn and memorize something. I mean, shloka memorization itself is quite a bit of a challenge, right? And then also the bhajans. So what you should do is spend that time just singing those bhajans with them, you know, and this way they will remember, they'll memorize those words, you know, instead of separately trying to. And in terms of review, you know, if you've taught them once, it's going to stay there, and then when they're ready, they'll pick it up again, you know. So you don't have to be so, you know, insistent. And the other way they also review is when they have to do something in public, you know, like exposing the children to doing some leadership things, you know, in their community also helps them to, you know, feel proud in a nice way, you know, that, oh, I can do this for Krishna. I can do this for Krishna. So even if it's not out there on the stage, but it could be within the family when they're performing for the father or for the friends or relatives or whatever, you know, like putting them in a place where they feel good about it. You know, if they're just doing this because they need to be a smart devotee, then it becomes too much of a pressure for them, you know. It becomes too much of a pressure. Like, we shouldn't be too overly ambitious to teach them so many things. Okay, I need to have them memorize 108 shlokas, or I need to have them memorize all the Vaishnava bhajans. This is a good, no, because that actually creates a different effect, an opposite effect it can create on the children. Too much of that also. So they must be able to naturally learn things, and they don't need to learn every bhajan, you know. It will come, you know, they're still very young, and over the years they're going to learn, right? So going slow on that will really help, really, really slow on that, and giving them opportunities to show themselves where they feel there's a wonderful outcome of something, you know. So putting a nice balance of all this and not being overly ambitious, you know, in these areas. Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness should be given in a way to children where they experience the joys of it, you know, because there's too much competition out there, you know. There's exposure to internet and all types of mundane activities, you know, that people project it as being very, very interesting, right? And it's so attractive. The way they present it, it feels like, wow, there's nothing like it, you know. So you're facing a lot of competition, right? So that's why Krishna consciousness has to be given in a way where it's very attractive, you know. So you have to become expert in that, you know, and see how I can give my children, make them into wonderful devotees without them feeling like, oh my gosh, what am I missing out there? Or this is too much, I can't stand it, you know. There's plenty of time for them to pick up these things. Once you've created that attraction in them for doing these things and they feel good about themselves, you know, then once that attraction is developed and the encouragement is there, then they will pick it up on their own also. Okay.
So some devotee actually mentioned me, and I don't know, I wanted your opinion. Some devotee mentioned, some senior, that, you know, you have time until teenager. Once they are teenager, they have their own ideas and own views. So whatever you want to give Krishna consciousness, try your best and give them now. And then later on, we don't know what they're selecting. So I wanted your opinion on that.
Yeah, giving them Krishna consciousness early on is very good, because then it kind of sets their path, that even though at teenager they do get distracted, especially if they're going to school, they get more distracted. Otherwise, there's not so much distraction, right? But if they're able to face those challenges. But Krishna consciousness, giving them Krishna consciousness goes on all the way through. It's not like it stops when they become teenagers. It doesn't stop. I remember the instruction is it keeps going all the way through, especially during the hard years. They need more of that in terms of, but then by then we have developed so much trust in each other and open lines of communication that is easy. What most people talk about is this generation gap, which is happening because of the lack of lack of Krishna consciousness and lack of a good devotee association and that connection that parents need with their children. Because of that, by the time they become teenagers, there's a huge gap. They don't want anything to do with you. You see, so that's why the early years is important, to create that connection, so that when they do have difficult time at that age, the connection is already there, you see. And one just needs to just keep watching and helping and guiding, you see. Yeah, so it is a difficult time, but it doesn't have to be difficult, very difficult, because you have already developed that trust in them, and they're feeling comfortable with Krishna consciousness. They're at home with it. They've already experienced that it's actually a very attractive, wonderful thing. See?
Okay, Mataji, thank you so much.
Jivana Prabhu, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Jivana Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Mataji, sorry, a question here. With the corona lockdowns and the world seems to be changing somewhat significantly, do you think there's a need to modify the kind of education that we need to be providing to our children to fit into the new world that might derive from the situation as it stands right now? Or do you think things will recover to a more or less normal situation where we don't really have to worry about that?
Mm-hmm. What I think this, I don't think this, in terms of children going to school and not being able to go anymore to school, obviously, one has to start thinking about alternative ways to school them. And what I would recommend is homeschooling, because there's no opening for anything else. And of course, there's a choice for online schooling as well. But out of the two, homeschooling is a better process, because we can take care. There's not so much exposure to the screen and addiction that it creates in a child. This need for always being, the addiction that this medium creates, right? So I think it's a great opportunity this provides a great opportunity for parents to connect with their children. So in many ways, it's a blessing, and it's making them think more deeper about their children's education. And a lot of the parents have been telling me that this time has been so wonderful for them, because they found this connection with their children that they hadn't found. And they're actually finding that these children are actually doing better in terms of their qualities, and they're less aggressive and they're more peaceful. So I think it can be a great blessing this time. The challenges that I see is when they don't have association with other children. Children also need to associate with other children, to have fun, to play with them. That aspect, that social aspect, is a little challenging as of now. But in terms of education, I don't think we need to change anything other than find the time to, if we can, to actually teach them at home. Yes.
So what we teach them at home, that doesn't have to change much. For example, with my boys, I'm doing Cambridge. And right now the compulsory subjects would be like maths, science and English. And that's their compulsory subjects, for stage 7, 8, 9. I was just thinking, should I rather minimize on that and give more attention to let them learn about farming and all these more down-to-earth natural things? Or should we be considering the possibility that universities and all these things would become a normal go back to kind of situation in the world, post COVID periods?
Well, you can see the natural tendency, for your children, if they are more inclined towards those occupations, then why not? It's important to see what your child is inclined towards, so that he can be happily situated in his life. If he's not inclined towards higher education and higher studies, then why push him through in that? So I think it should depend on the natural tendencies of the children, and rather than the situation today, because how material life is, it's always fluctuating, it's always changing. We really don't know, what's going to happen next. And to fear the future is really pointless, because as devotees, we just depend on Krishna. We just do things to please Krishna. And Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, well, children, they do what the adults are doing. We do a morning program, and then we read scriptures, and then we try to do Krishna conscious things throughout the day. And if you have that, if you just keep to that process and make it really, really simple, then somehow the other Krishna will provide the answers. If the world changes in a drastic way, then our program remains the same, but there may be a few adjustments here and there, but that's okay. We can do that.
Thank you, Mataji.
Okay, Shama Rupini Mataji, will you please ask your question?
Mataji, I had a question, like the kids, they memorize the shloka very easily, they take interest, they learn the Vaishnava songs, but they're very reluctant to know the meaning or even understand a little bit. I mean, you learn 10, 20 shlokas, but what is the use if you are not ready to understand the meaning? So how to make it, to make them understand, that it's not just reciting the shlokas that is important, but you need to know even a little bit of meaning. Okay, but you're learning 10, 20 Kunti prayers, shloka, but you don't know the meaning at all.
Yeah.
So then I don't know how to, make it more easy, and, I don't know.
For such a young child, I mean, Kunti's prayers may be very too ambitious, for them, it may be too overly ambitious. But if you feel that they have the capacity and they want to do it, that's fine. And the way to do the translations is, if the child has a tendency to want to learn shloka, I would go all for it. But as long as you're not pushing him too hard, that's all I'm saying. Don't push him too hard. So, and the way to do the translations would be to understand the meaning and to say it in their own words. If you have them memorize word to word, the translation from the book is very hard for them, because Bhagavatam's English is very difficult, it's high. And for them to memorize with those big words is very, so what you do is you simplify those meanings, what it actually means, and then have them say it in their own words. Then there's no memorization, but they also understand what it means. And then later on, as they get older, they can memorize word to word if they want to, you see?
Yeah, but when I tell them, because my son, he knows a lot of Kunti prayer shlokas, he takes interest in learning by himself. But now the next step, I want him to understand the meaning. He says, I don't want to know. I mean, I don't want to. So how do you even make him understand that it's,
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, don't push so hard. I mean, it's okay. If he just wants to do the Sanskrit, it's okay. Because, it's not the ideal way, but if he's too young to push him into it, So what I'm saying is that, let him learn the Sanskrit, and then later on he will learn the translation, Yeah. So I mean, unless somebody out there has, better, answer, yeah. I think it's great credit that he wants to learn Sanskrit shlokas. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Mataji.
We have a question here. What is a good age to learn Sanskrit for children?
Yes. I think maybe 6 could be a good age to begin Sanskrit studies. Prabhupada said that it takes 12 years to accomplish Sanskrit well, So if you start at 6, he'll be 16 by the time he's done learning Sanskrit grammar and all the details of Sanskrit. And starting early is so nice because these children, Sanskrit learning helps in so many different ways. Sanskrit is the mother of all languages. So if one learns Sanskrit grammar, then actually one becomes expert in other languages as well, because it's so precise and so detailed. So it works in many, many other ways in terms of language accomplishment as well as appreciating the Shastra. Naturally, when one learns Sanskrit, then one actually can relish the Shastra a lot deeper. And the only way to do it is to give them when they're young, because as you know, the stories of Prabhupada, when devotees as adults went to Prabhupada and said they want to begin study of Sanskrit, Prabhupada was not in favor of that. He said, better you just engage in preaching and studying my books rather than learning Sanskrit. But he was in favor of children learning Sanskrit because they were given at the right time.
And this perhaps might be our last question from Kalambi Sundari Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So since we're talking about Sanskrit, so there's a Sanskrit class in June, like they're doing every Sunday, but not from ISKCON, from some other school. I'm giving my son, 7 years old, every day. They're giving Sanskrit class in the online. So is it okay, Mata, to teach him Sanskrit?
Yeah. Sanskrit is good for the children. Yeah, it's nicer to have it a devotee teach because it's just a different perspective.
Yeah. Like with Bhagavatam, I'm getting Sanskrit, meaning that I'm giving them. And with them, he learning how to talk Sanskrit.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's fine.
Because I cannot do that, Mata. So therefore, and another thing, which is like not this year happening, but other years happening, and now it will. That is like outside, like my Prabhu little bit because they're boy. My Prabhu, like their health, strong health, all this, So sometimes he go tennis class, swimming class, soccer, like one each time. A soccer class, I will be there with him, and he taking this class. So is it okay, Mata? This thing, I'm not so much. I don't like so much. I'm doing it because my husband wants this class, tennis class, swimming.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It's good for them to have some physical. You just have to. Tennis and all this. Yeah, that's good. It's all right. Children need an outlet to play. Yeah.
But also, I read your book. You told that like when your kids start playing soccer, and then after some time you stop them because you see some offensive word they're using. Still not that happening because they're small. So what age I stop that, Mata? If I don't.
Yeah. Well, as they get right now, it may be okay, but as they get older, if they come and tell you that they've been hearing things that you feel that is not appropriate, my children would come and tell me. So that's when I had to stop. So you can keep open lines of communication with your children and see what's happening out there and what he's picking up and be aware of that. So, but if that's what your husband really, really wants and it makes him happy, then yeah, just let them do that. There's nothing wrong with it either, for them to have some physical, outlet. just keep watching and seeing, you know.
Till now, no scene, no often like anything happened. So my Prabhu told is okay. So
Yeah.
if something happened, he also going to take care. I know that.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of Sanskrit, I just want to clarify that for a lot of parents, it's very hard for them to find teachers for Sanskrit. So I just want to share with everyone that it's okay if you cannot find Sanskrit teachers. You can teach them Sanskrit just directly from Srila Prabhupada's shlokas. You know, I know so many wonderful sannyasis who never had ever this opportunity of learning Sanskrit regularly from childhood, and their grasp of shlokas and their understanding of every word in that shloka is so amazing. And so it can be taught. Just you can teach them just through Prabhupada's books, and just by reciting them and also through word-to-word meanings, one gets a good grasp of Sanskrit. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mata.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Okay, looks like we're questioned out. 2 hours of answering questions is quite intense. Thank you so much, Mataji. As always, we need your guidance, and we'll continue on our homeschooling journeys and be looking towards you for your blessings and your good wishes and your guidance as we keep struggling and fumbling along the way.
Thank you, Radhika, for arranging and contributing your time, your patience to go through all that. So thank you, and I'm very happy to be here. And thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.